I'd like to start with Roger, if I may. Roger, the onshore shallow water transactions are done. It's now down to indigenous players to optimize the assets. There's obviously still a role for the IOCs, for the majors, and a very large role for NNPC. I'd just like your thoughts on, the next steps. What does that optimization look like?
And hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Let me just say let me kick off by saying the indigenous sector, there's this concept that it's new. It's not new. I mean, we were the new kids on the block 15 years ago when Seplat was started. Doc to my right here, I think, started in 1998, so he's heading towards 30 years. Oh, yes. Orlando was around for us, and obviously with NEMB coming in, around our time. So this sector has been around for a while, okay? And when we look at what happened in 2024, which was this backup of deals and big deals that got done and got approved, this had been building for many, many, many years, 10, 15 years. And it was a long time coming. I thought it was going to be a lot quicker than that. So the indigenous sector is thriving. It's full of incredible talent. Largely, I think, certainly with Seplat, coming out of the majors, so we've got a lot of people, whether it be Shell, whether it be Exxon, whether it be Chevron, very well-trained Nigerians. We're 99% Nigerian. I'm adopted, by the way, by Nigeria, so I'm actually Nigerian, although I don't look like Nigerian. So we brought a lot of skills into the area, and so when we completed the Mobil acquisition last year, we were ready for it. Now, what have we done? What does the indigenous sector bring to the party? I think what it is a very clear way of engaging. So the first thing that we really look at is the communities and the engagement model with the communities. It's shared prosperity. That's very important because you have to have a freedom to operate. And if you look at across the sector, that freedom to operate has been our success. And if I looked at, implementing Seplat community model projects into Akwa State, it's new coming in after we've obviously acquired Mobil. So we're very excited with that. That's number one. Number two is a long-term view of life and not to panic, right? So when things go wrong, which they're going to go wrong, 2016 we had shut-ins of pipelines, 17. We're not running away. You can't run away from your own home. It's your home, right? So it's a long-term horizon where we actually look to see how we can work through the problems and get the most out of it. Will it be oil? Will it be gas? Will it be all the bits of gas? Will it be CNG, LPG, LNG, etc.? We're here for the long term. And that's what I think we bring to these very prolific assets, whether it be onshore or shallow water offshore. So the onshore and shallow water offshore are in good health. Now, yesterday you heard from the GCO talking about what NNPC is doing. One of the big things is cash calls and ensuring, I'll tell you a story, when we listed in 2014, we raised $500 million, and NNPC owed us $550 million, so more than we raised in our IPO. And that is a thing of the past. So cash calls being paid is critical. A very clear line from NNPC now is more alignment. It's a partnership. And how do we work together as partners? So I think that's what the Indigenous are bringing to the party here. And it's very exciting. But I'm going to shut up so I don't dominate the whole conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Paterno. So born 400 days ago, designed over the last 40 years. Roger, I'd like to put the same question to you. Tell us a little bit about Seplat's plans.
Okay, I can talk a little bit Seplat. Don't blame me, by the way, but we're a public company, and it's the 2nd of July, which means we're in a closed period. And for all the lawyers they'll know what that is. So I can't talk about production. So it's not my fault. Blame the stock exchanges. That said, look, we got 11 blocks, 8 of which we operate. We've got 7 onshore, 4 in the shallow water offshore since our acquisition. They're prolific in both oil and gas. Seplat today has got 5 gas processing units. By the way, I'll make this also clear, it's with our partners at NNPC. They have the majority of that, so very important. But we have 5 gas processing, 3 onshore gas plants, 1 in the east at AGPC, which is due to supply gas very soon, Uben and at Sapele, and in the offshore we have big gas processing units at Osso and EAP. So all of that adds together to about 2.5 BCF of gas processing on a daily basis. What is crying out now is from the offshore shallow water business is actually now to start to monetize that gas. And we will be doing that in a mixture of supplying, LNG. We'll supply, which we do at the minute, we'll be supplying floating LNG projects when they're built. And also, very importantly, be supplying domestic gas projects in Aqua Ibom state. And that's very important. This huge gas resource has got to now start to get into projects that will then transform Nigeria onshore, domestic, as well as export as projects. Oil production is very much a big growth area for us across all of those blocks. And we're very clear what we're trying to do, of course, safely. So going back to Dr. Fatona's point, I mean, a bit risky going about the old wife. I won't go anywhere near there. I've got an angry one at home who could probably tell me off. But what I'd say is that these assets are mature. They are 60 years old. A lot of the investments haven't been made, particularly in the last 10 to 15 years. So it's really important, and again, I'll refer back to the GCO yesterday. What he said was 2027, the target, he didn't say peak, he said not peaks, average. All right, so it's important that you can get spikes in your production, but then you're shut in for the next 7 days. This has to be constant. And so what we've been doing a lot of is integrity maintenance work so we're seeing production come up in oil, we're doing all the work in gas, but the average is quite sizably different from what we were seeing across these assets last year. And that's the difference. So you're going to see across all of the indigenous players, whether it be ones on the stage, is you need to do an average production. So when we hit 2 million barrels and we hit 3 million barrels, we're going to do it every single day. That's very critical we do that. So that's what Seplat's trying to do. Thank you.
We've got 7 minutes left. I've bitten off far more than I can chew in terms of the topics I planned. One I think we really want to get to is financing. And I'm going to come to Roger here on this, on balancing the requirements to invest in the core versus the growth, and for a number of companies, obviously repaying loans that have allowed them to get into this position. Roger, I don't know what you can comment around, how you balance the different pools and the financing aspects.
Yeah, well, look, first of all, the overriding factor is finance is getting tougher and tougher and tougher. We can't hide away from that. It's getting harder to raise it. There's more demands. Alex is talking about Scope 1, Scope 2 demands, Scope 3 demands, etc. But it's just the availability of capital. Now, what I would say about Nigeria's actions over the last period of time, the divestments and others, is that stability will then attract more capital. So that more excitement of growth will bring capital into the country. What we did is we've always treated capital as critical to our business. When we look at capital, we look at as many forms of capital as we can. So we got listed on 2 stock exchanges. We've got equity. We have a Euro bond. In fact, this is our 3rd Euro bond. I'll tell you a small story about that one. We did our first one in 2018. We tried to get 500 million. We only had appetite for 350 million. Our pricing was 5% above the reference Nigerian pricing, sovereign pricing. Roll forward, we've just done one this year. We got $650 million bond. We got more than double that in appetite. And for the first time, we priced inside the Nigerian sovereign, which was a massive movement. So we went from 5% outside to inside. That is the evolution of the third bond and delivering on promises. Then bank debt, and also very important, commodity debt, right? So using the commodity to fund. The critical thing is that when you're going to buy something, if you put it all on the acquisition, there may not be much money to actually develop. It's like buying a house, right? Spend all your money in the house and there's no furniture, and you sit on the floor, right? So you've got to really think about development. Now, what I'd say is a lot of these assets have got a lot of low-hanging fruit, stog activity, whatever you want to call it, and I think that's natural. So you can see what, everyone's focusing on is get the production up first. What bit that's never really talked about too much, and it's this drill, baby, drill concept, is, yeah, that's great, where are you going to put the drill bit? So you have to do a lot of the subsurface work, and a lot of these assets, a lot of that work hasn't been done, and you don't know until you buy it. So the key thing is that you don't put all the money into the acquisition, you have the right structure, you use as many forms of capital as you possibly can, you actually are sensible and you deliver on your promises, and you treat capital as a partner. A lot of people treat capital as, well, I'll tell them all the good things, but when the bad things come along, I'll hide it, right? That's not the way to do capital. It's a partnership. The adage, if you borrow 10 million from the bank, it's your problem. If you borrow $1 billion from the bank, it's their problem, or it's a shared problem. The adage is true. So it's a partnership. Tell everything, tell the ups and downs. We all live in Nigeria. We know it's not easy. But that capital access, well, then has been our success. So we've been able to redeploy that capital, grow, and anytime we go and buy something new, we've got enough money to fund it, and also very importantly to develop it. And we've been hearing lots of, and I have to get this across, we hear lots of noise, oh, these indigenous companies, they've got no money to develop these things. Total and utter rubbish. Total rubbish. There is capital to develop, and I can tell you the indigenous companies will demonstrate this when we hit that production target in the coming years. Thank you.